Hello friend, how is it going? Welcome back to Auto Resource YouTube channel. Here is my personal 2009 Volkswagen Jetta wagon with 124,000 miles on the odometer. We did a bunch of service on her and I filmed most of it for you. And I think if I show you the condition of the rear brakes, you will agree. It's time to get rid of this rusty mess, replace it with a new. I will be not resurfacing these rotors. I ordered new stuff, new metallic, not the semi-metallic or organic, but I ordered metallic brake pads because it's the OEM spec, and the new rotors. These are really eaten by the rust. I will begin this whole procedure with removing two sliding pins, which are here and here, and it will be the 13 millimeter. So here is the first one. Now the top, just a little bit of power with a small pry bar. Oh yeah, the camera is in my way, so I don't have a good access. You are where I will be normally standing, so I will help myself to show it to you. Beautiful. Now, in order of removing this brake pad's support, I actually need special tool. It's a triple square and the size is M14. So let's see how easy it is to get to it around all these suspension parts. Here I'm engaging the bottom one. Now you know what tool to have ready. You really want to tackle this job yourself. Oh wow, these are tight. That didn't go well, so I got a breaker bar 3/8 and a short version of the triple square. Let's go try again. Here are the tools for those two difficult bolts which are on each side. So I started with that M14, this one. There was no chance because it was twisting. Then I borrowed Blue Point, very short M14 from the neighbor behind the wall. I did these Titans. It's again M14 triple square. It's completely different deal because you are dealing with a half drive. So that actually everybody who wants to do this job should have this on the hand. Large half drive socket M14 triple square to deal with those bolts on the back. Change the lighting in order to show you these two bolts. So let's do the same with the bottom one. I can use the same angle here. Okay, the bolt is still there, but finally the part is out. Now finally we should be able to remove that rotor. There is that one bolt, it's a Torx T30. It's right here, just holding it into place. And that could be rusted into a good strip and so on. So we just hope, no, that was the opposite. Very easy. If it was installed 1 minute ago, it will nicely come off. Since it's stuck there for a while and I am replacing the rotor, I can hit it with a hammer and I don't worry about damaging that backside. So now I will give you a closer look. This is where the bolts were coming in these two holes, and holding that brake pad support. Here you can see the rust, amounts of rust. You can see it on the hub also, and here is that caliper. trying to postpone that rust coming back, I applied some rust preventative paint. It's a primer basically. On the hub I always use anti-seize. This one it's aluminum based. And that makes sure that it will prevent the rust. Super thin layer only. It will prevent the rust, and also the rotor will be not sticking to the hub. So, and now I will use the fact that the rotor is still not here and I have a space to work on this caliper with the piston. So you cannot to just push the piston back because it's part of the parking brake system and you will damage that entire mechanism. It's super important and you need a special tool. While you are pressing the piston in, it needs to be rotating also. That's why the notches are here and it needs to be done properly, otherwise the damage of this mechanism will occur. Here you can basically see that entire kit, and I just need to select the adapter which will fit in those grooves and will turn the piston for me. I think this number 6 will work perfectly. So here is the pressing tool out of that set. I will install the adapter on it. And let's see if this will work for me. I need to engage it in that piston. Alright. I'm trying my best to show it to you. So, look at it. Do you see how it's rotating? Instead of just being pushed in, that entire piston will rotate clockwise. And that is making sure that it's coming in, but also that it's turning for purpose of that parking brake assembly. And I think it's enough inside. Now I can just remove the tool and look at it, how that piston is nicely pressed in, and there is that opening for the new pads. When you are buying new rotors, they are always in the plastic bag, and it's not rust. I'm not sure if you can see it. This is actually remnants of the preservative oil. So I always use the brake clean to clean the surfaces. I don't want to get that oil, that preservative, in the material of those brake pads. I will wipe it off, the remainings of it, with a soft towel. And I'm sure you remember there is that little Torx 30 tool and the bolt. So I'm looking for that opening. I put the anti-seize on that bolt too. Look how nicely it's fitting and moving. And I can install that bolt. Excuse me. This is typical for Volkswagen. It just keeps popping off because that edge is very small. Now we need to deal with those old brake pads. Oh yeah, my friend. This is all very stuck because the rust and dust. The pads might be still thick, but because the lack of the maintenance, this pad especially cannot really move in these channels. That's really amazing how that dirt, dust, corrosion and lack of maintenance, how many problems it creates. And these are the channels which must be, that this cannot be skipped. This is the area which must be clean. This is the area which will make you or break you. This needs to be perfect. There cannot be any rust, because this affects 100% how the brake pads can be moving around the rotor and floating around it, how it moves in its channels. Here you can see that new hardware. It came with those ceramic brake pads, but I will not install it directly on that metal. I will use first this high temperature brake caliper grease. It's a synthetic, it's resisting to the high temperatures. And in these sliding areas, I will put very thin layer of that grease. Only after that, I will install that shiny new hardware. And the brakes will work for me longer than if I didn't do that little detail. Now I better don't forget on those sliding pins. Oh yeah, they are dried out. So you apply the grease, the high temperature grease, only on the sides here. You don't put it right here on the top. So that's the one. It should nicely go in. Oh yeah, look how easily it's moving. And the same with this one. And I said these super long bolts which gave trouble, I said I will clean the threads on both of them and apply that aluminum anti-seize for easy installation today and removal in the future to install it in a place. So it starts, and I just checked the manual, and these bolts, which were so hard to remove, the torque is 90 Newton meters. Now I'm finally ready to install the new brake pads, which are here, but I need to lubricate these sliding areas too. So what I do, I just take the same grease, and on this small area only, you don't want to ever put it here on the pad itself. Here comes the outer. It fits only one way. You can't really put it wrong, at least I guess. Look how nicely it slid in these channels, the brand new channels. And I will do exactly the same right here on the back. Both of these nicely in place. Time for that caliper. And now we will find out if we press that piston deep enough in that caliper and if it will clear that new pads. And look at that. It did. And it nicely fits into place. So we have these two 13mm bolts. There is plenty of anti-seize on this. And I look in the manual again for you. Torque numbers lovers. And these ones are 30 Newton meters, 30. And there is a little bit space between that piston and the brakes. So you can see how it's nicely and freely floating both ways on these two sliding pins. And that's why when you start using the brakes, both pads on both sides are being worn evenly. And now I'm going to perform exactly the same thing on the other side. This is how it ends up looking on the driver's side. I will say huge improvement, even visually. Here's the look on the passenger side. factory spec for those wheel bolts is 120 Newton meters. So don't forget to torque your wheel bolts properly. Now comes an extremely important part of this job, because we spread or we push that piston inside of the caliper. Now there is a space between the piston and the brake pads. So I need to use the brake pedal before starting the vehicle and trying to go on the test drive. I have to put these pistons back all the way out to touch the pads, and only after that the brakes will work. So look how that pedal is soft. It's going all the way to the floor. Oh yeah. So it took at least 2.5 all the way to the floor, and now the brake pedal is hard, and only right now I'm safe to start up, put in reverse and get out of this garage and go on the test drive. I hope you have enjoyed this video and you find it helpful. If you do, please give it a thumb up and make sure you are subscribed. I have way more coming your way soon. Thank you for watching and have a great day, my friend.